Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next? Yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill, no discretion. Your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they see me. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft, you can change lives, you create thoughts. Never waste time, you got one shot, you got one life. Better pop off, what do you like? Make a dream job, no 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next? Yeah. He got the venom.
Sorry about that, folks. I unplugged my mic yesterday because I was ordering a new mic cord to try to eliminate the static that I'd be getting, and I forgot to plug it back in. So I had no mic cord. So good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. Starting your day off with a mishap already. Great. You got to love it, right? Michael K. Muted never sounded better. Shout out to Michael K. Listen, me and Michael K. had a great phone conversation last night. Great guy. You know what I mean? I know that he gets on here and he trolls the Miami Dolphins community, and that's half the fun of sports. You know what I mean? And sometimes he is, sometimes he might get on your nerves a little bit, you know what I mean? But that's the signs of a great troller. You know what I mean? And that's half the greatness about sports. That's half the greatness. So I had about an hour-long phone conversation with Michael K last night. Great conversation, great guy. Hopefully we get to get up when I get together when I go up to Buffalo in September. Also, for all your NFL Sunday ticket needs, Michael K's got the hookup. Get in contact with him. He's got great deals on these unlockable boxes. You know what I mean? So you know, if you'd like to not pay for NFL Sunday ticket, you want free pay-per-views, UFC fights, free cable television type stuff, get a hold of Michael K because he's got the hookup. Let's go through and say hello to everybody in the chat. Michael Lombardo, good morning, brother. Aqua, good morning. Travis, good morning. Michael K, good morning, of course. Jose, good morning. Cat for Life, good morning. Yeah. Bonnie actually messaged. She had left an email. She's on vacation, so that's where Bonnie's been. I was worried about her. I was hoping that she didn't get tired of Big C. Thankfully, that's not the case, and she's on vacation with her family, and we hope to have her back soon. So shout out to Bonnie. But anyway, you see the title of today's subject matter, and you know, I've had mixed feelings about Stephen Ross because the guy opens up his pocketbook for the most part. This guy opens up his wallet. He has brought in and signed big name players to the Miami Dolphins. He's been willing up until this last year to pay top dollar to make this franchise better. But there's some key things that he will not do. That is greatly affecting this team. Now, in the Stephen Ross tenure, 16 years of owning the Miami Dolphins, he has 124 and 136 record. He's got 5 winning seasons. Out of 16, 5 winning seasons. He's got 3 playoff appearances, all wild card losses. He's had technically 3 general managers in his time frame here with the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Ireland from 2009 to 2014, Dennis Hickey from 2014 to 2015, and then Chris Greer took over 2016 to the current. Michael Lombardi, what's a PO? You know, those numbers just aren't 3 playoff appearances in 16 seasons. That's just not going to get the job done. 3 general managers. We all know that. PO box. I don't have a PO box, but if you email me, I can give you I can give you my address if you email me. Jeff Ireland. We all can admit that Jeff Ireland has been he was an absolute nightmare as the general manager of the Miami Dolphins. Dennis Hickey for 1 year, and then Chris Greer from 2016 to the present. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, True Blazer. Those 3 names, it's unacceptable. The amount of time that he's given Chris Greer to screw this team up over and over and over again. Now, we've gone through numerous head coaches, but for some reason, we don't fire the GM. And In the time that Stephen Ross has been the owner of the Miami Dolphins, Tony Sperano, he was the coach here for 4 years. 2009, he was fired midway through 2011. Let's not speak about the disaster that, and I'm gonna get more into this disaster with Tony Sperano. This happened early in the Stephen Ross's ownership of the Miami Dolphins. So you chalk it up to a rookie mistake. You know what I mean? At the conclusion of the 2010 NFL season, the Miami Dolphins sat in third place in the AFC East. They were 7-9 for the second consecutive year. Players were unhappy about Coach Tony Sperano's scheme. Most people felt that the time was right for Stephen Ross and or Jeff Ireland to fire the coach and go after Jim Harbaugh, who was finishing up a tremendous season with the kids at Stanford. Apparently, Stephen Ross felt that part of his plan was correct because he and Jeff Ireland, they got in a jet, they flew out, they met with Jim Harbaugh. They tried to persuade Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. There's only one little problem there. Tony Sperano was still the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. They had never fired him. So you're out here trying publicly to get Jim Harbaugh to become your head coach while Tony Sperano is currently the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. You just can't do that. You just don't do that type of stuff. You just don't do that type of stuff. Jim Harbaugh felt weird about that whole situation and decided not to take that job and took the job with the 49ers instead. Ross stuck now, had to fly back to Miami, a pissed off fan base, a head coach that was absolutely crushed about what happened, and a locker room full of players wondering what the hell happened, what the hell went wrong, and how are they still stuck with Tony Sperano as their head coach. That was an absolute disaster. That if he would have just fired Tony Sperano after back-to-back mediocre seasons, Jim Harbaugh would have been the head coach of the Miami Dolphins in 2010. You don't try to hire somebody else for you know what I mean? How would you feel if you're sitting here and you got a position at your job and your employer right in front of you is trying to hire your replacement? And then the person that they brought in to replace you feels weird about taking your job, so they decline. And then your employer comes back to you and tries to act like everything's okay. Absolute joke. But I'll chalk that one up to a rookie mistake. He was a new owner, not a lot of football knowledge. He's not a football mind. He made his millions in realty and commercial realtor. I'm saying the word wrong. Sorry. Realtor work. Selling properties. There you go. Selling properties. So you got the Tony Sperano era. Then Todd Boyles takes over halfway through 2011 and finishes out the season. Todd Boyles, the current head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who is a playoff head coach. I think Todd Bowles is one of the league's better coaches. I don't think he's a great coach, but I think he's Realtor. There you go, Cat for Life. Thank you. Listen, Mike Florio is a clown, Cap. And, I'm not saying everything he says is false and there ain't no truth to what he says, but the guy just constantly attacks the Miami Dolphins. He constantly attacks the Miami Dolphins. And I don't respect Mike Florio at all. Not even a little bit. But anyway, Todd Boyle's given half a season. They don't bring him back. Who do the Miami's Dolphins go get? They go get Joe Philbin. Stephen Ross made the comment, we're looking for the next young Don Shula, but they bring in a 51-year-old offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers who didn't even call plays for the Green Bay Packers. Didn't even call plays. And that's who we bring in as our next head coach. Well, we had a viable option on the team already in Todd Bowles. Florio has no right to attack them. Who is Mike Florio? I don't respect Mike Florio at all. He's just out to attack the Miami Dolphins. Joe Philbin lasted from 2012 to 2015. Dan Campbell. You've heard of that name before, right? The head coach of the Detroit Lions, having great success out there in Detroit. He was the interim coach the rest of the 2015 season. The players loved Dan Campbell, wanted Dan Campbell to be the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Guess what? The organization did not listen once again. We let Dan Campbell out the door. Now, would Dan Campbell be the success he is today with the Miami Dolphins? I mean, that's debatable. I think he was still pretty green, but players were willing to go to war. He's willing to go to war for their coach. I'm not a hater, True Blazer. I'm just talking about my favorite team that I watch consistently. You know what I mean? I don't have no pre-agenda against any team in the NFL. I mean, True Blazer, you can sit here and attack me because I don't like Mike Florio all you want. That's cool. I guess that's cool. But, but yeah, I think it was a mistake not listening to your players. The players wanted Dan Campbell here. They were willing to run through walls for this guy. What up, Costa Nostra? Who do we bring in? Adam Gase, because Adam Gase had success with Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. I don't think it was as bad a hire as Joe Philbin per se, but Adam Gase was a complete disaster here as well. He was here from 2016 to 2018. Then we had Brian Flores, 2019, 2021. We'll get into him more here in a few minutes. And then, of course, we had Mike McDaniel, 2022 to present. Not a great list of head coach candidates, guys. Not a great list. That's not true, Glenn. Ross is the least of Miami's problems. I think we can all agree the start of Miami's problems is Chris Grier, and Chris Grier is only here because Mike McDaniel continues to let him be here. The only reason Chris Grier is still here is because of Mike McDaniel, or because of Stephen Ross. Part two of the Jim Harbaugh thing was a two-part situation. After the 2021 season, Stephen Ross decided to fire Brian Flores. We'll get back to Brian Flores in a second. It was kind of a shock that I mean, more details will come out later, but it was a shock at the time that the Dolphins were moving on from Brian Flores because he had led them back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since 2020 or 2003. First time in Ross's tenure as the owner of the Miami Dolphins that he saw any type of continued success. But regardless, Flores was fired and the coaching search for the Miami Dolphins started. One big problem with this coaching search, though, is that the name that was supposed to be at the top of this list wasn't. The one name that we were all looking for wasn't on the list of candidates, possible candidates for the Miami Dolphins. And that was Jim Harbaugh. We all figured that Jim Harbaugh at some point was going to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. At least I know I did. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I felt there was a great chance that Jim Harbaugh would eventually be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Why wasn't Jim Harbaugh at the top of this list? Because Stephen Ross made it known immediately that he would not be the guy to take Jim Harbaugh away from the University of Michigan. That Stephen Ross showed more loyalty to his alma mater than he did to the football team that he owns, to the fan base that puts money in his pocket year after year after year. He refused to be the guy that would take Jim Harbaugh away from the University of Michigan, even though that Jim Harbaugh made it known that he was ready to make the jump back to the pros. Jim Harbaugh was going to leave the University of Michigan regardless. So why isn't Stephen Ross bringing him to Miami? Jim Harbaugh pretty much publicly made it known. Stephen Ross, send the jet down here, pick me up, and make me an offer that I can't refuse. But Stephen Ross never sent the jet. Stephen Ross never sent the jet for Jim Harbaugh. So let's get this straight. In 2011, when, despite having a head coach, we wine and dine and try to talk Jim Harbaugh into becoming the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. But when we have no coach, we have no real elite candidates to become the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, we don't go after Jim Harbaugh. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me, because it absolutely doesn't. It does not make sense to me. And yeah, listen, I like Mike McDaniel. I like Mike McDaniel, but would I have rather had Jim Harbaugh as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? I would. I would. Jim Harbaugh left Michigan anyway. He left Michigan anyway. And then back to Brian Flores. Brian Flores. Brian Flores this a weird situation, and another reason that possibly Chris Greer, another reason Chris Greer should be fired, should have been fired. You bring in Brian Flores. Listen, Brian Flores has some success with the Miami Dolphins. He seems like a leader of men. You go and you draft the quarterback that Brian Flores wants nothing to do with. Brian Flores did not want Tua Tagovailoa. Brian Flores wanted nothing to do with Tua Tagovailoa. So you go and draft a quarterback that your head coach has no interest in working with. And then Stephen Ross is accused of contract tampering with Tom Brady and bribing Brian Flores to lose games, offering somewhere in the range of $100,000 per loss. Offer $100,000 per loss in order to get the first pick in the 2020 draft, because Stephen Ross wanted Joe Burrow. This franchise wanted Joe Burrow. This franchise absolutely tried to tank. They tried to bring in Tom Brady. They tried to bring in, I'm having a brain fart right now, the head coach for the Denver Broncos. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. It's public knowledge that Brian Flores did not want to draft Tua Tagovailoa. Sean Payne, thank you, Costa Nostra. He wanted Jordan Love. He did not want Tua Tagovailoa. Am I tripping? Am I the only one that's seen that? Where Brian Flores didn't want Tua, he wanted Jordan Love. Who else? What's the other name that he wanted? I know that he would have been happy with Joe Burrow. But once Brian Flores went tank, he obviously wasn't willing to make it work with Tua Tagovailoa. They fired Brian Flores after 2 winning seasons out of 3 due to poor collaboration. Brian Flores says that the poor collaboration was him not willing to cooperate when Stephen Ross attempted to break league rules. And there's a long, it's still not completely out what happened in 2019 between Ross, Flores, and Chris Greer and the Dolphins upper management. But there's definitely been damage done to the Dolphins franchise and the brand of this franchise. A lot of fans hate Stephen Ross because of the continued mediocrity on the football field. After 16 years, we still are no closer to a Super Bowl title. Now, Stephen Ross has done a lot of good things in his ownership tenure. He renovated Joe Robbie Stadium. He upgraded the practice fields and the facilities. But the one thing he's failed to do is put a good product on the field. And the fact that, in his other saving grace is that he was always willing to spend money to bring in talent to try to win. And finally this year, it seems that he's closed his checkbook. And if that's the case, why did you even bring Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel back? You were just setting them up for failure. Because if we weren't able to go out and get quality players to fill the holes that we have on this team, what was the sense in bringing these guys back? Because you knew the roster currently, the way it was set up, isn't good enough to win. And I don't mean win 10 games and make the playoffs. I mean win. I mean, I'm talking Super Bowls. And the way this roster is currently set up, I don't think we're in the running for a Super Bowl. Big C, Philbin wanted Russ Wilson over Tannehill. Imagine that. Hey, and we could have got him in the third round too, right? And that's the biggest thing, Grass Fitzgerald. That's his biggest shortcoming, is that you continue to have, listen to the names: Jeff Ireland, Dennis Hickey, and Chris Greer. How long do these guys get? We've went through how many head coaches? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fifth plus 2 interim head coaches. So we've gone through 5 head coaches, 2 interim head coaches, but we're still only on the second general manager. After years and years of failed draft picks, years and years of not putting a winning product on the field, a complete failed rebuild in 2019-20. Cat for Life says we had a chance to win the division at home against Buffalo, and our fans left the stadium early and sold their tickets to the opposition before the game even started in 2023. I mean, are you surprised, Cap? Are you surprised? Because I think a lot of the fan base in Miami, a lot of the fan base for the Miami Dolphins, I don't know how many of the people in this fan base are true Miami Dolphins fans, because I see a lot more hate towards the Miami Dolphins from the supposed fan base than I do love. And I'm not talking about the people that, criticize the Miami Dolphins. No, they deserve criticism. This team is unsatisfactory. The people that put money in their pockets, if you buy their hats, their jerseys, their memorabilia, you buy NFL Sunday ticket, you buy tickets to the game, you deserve better. You deserve better. And you have absolutely every right to criticize this team. But it's the people in this fan base that criticize this team or say bad things about this team, and they're willing for this team to fail just so they can be right. Ross is an absentee owner. Absolutely. He lives and spends most of his time in New York. Cat, that was more a Miami Dolphins failure than a Buffalo Bills win. Michael K, that was more of a Buffalo Bills. That was more of a Miami Dolphins failure than a Buffalo Bills victory. Joe Philbin wanted Derek Carr. It's documented. Derek Carr didn't have the greatest career, in my opinion. I mean, I think you can get affordable tickets to the game. You can get cheap seats to a game. What year was Jim Bates, Cap? Because yeah, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, notification button on, spread the love. Trying to get towards a thousand subs. We gotta get them likes up so we can hit the algorithm. Shout out to Curtis from Ace Per Head. He had my most viewed video on YouTube so far with just around 500 views. Also, I think the Fin Posse podcast from tomorrow I'm available. So we'll do 10 a.m. tomorrow. But starting next week, I think we'll do Monday through Friday. Two p.m. I hope that works for y'all. Yeah, Curtis was a great guy. I hope to work with him more in the future. And again, guys, I would love to make it down to training camp. Um, Again, I don't make money on YouTube. Um, I don't live down the street from the Miami Dolphins like a lot of guys do. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it down. I'd have to pay for plane tickets, hotel. I tried to do Airbnb with people, but people weren't really into it. People staying with their parents and stuff, and still asking for YouTube money. But I'd like to try to get down, but we'll see. I'd love to come down and hang out with some of you guys that are in the Miami area. I should have a bunch of tickets. So I mean, if some people would like to go to training camp, I should have 4, 5, 6 tickets for available for each day. Michael K, you want to go down to Michael K? You want to go down to Dolphins training camp with me? Are crowns next to names with numbers mean for? I don't know what that means. It'll be a good time, Michael K. We'll get you right up there in the media booth. You can hold hands with TD and Omar and Doug. Why don't I go to Detroit or Chicago? Because I was trying to go to the Dolphins training camp down in Miami. I've never been to Miami Stadium. I don't see any crowns, Cosa Nostra. I don't see any crowns next to your names. I see a wrench next to your name, Cosa Nostra. I'm pretty sure you're a mediator in this group. I made you a mediator because you were the first person that joined me. I think you or Bonnie. I mean, I'd still have to probably fly there, hotel, food. You know what I mean? The plane tickets aren't that bad to Miami. The plane tickets aren't that bad to Miami. I think I get round trip for 3 something. I can probably find a Airbnb for 2 something a night. I just wanted to go down for 2 nights. But I don't have no transportation down there. You know what I mean? Travis, definitely. I'd love to get up with whoever's down there. Not to mention you won't fly, Michael K. Yo, listen, I was scared to fly, and I'm not saying you're scared, but something that takes 20 hours to do, if I can do it in 2 hours, man, screw that. I'm flying. It's so nice. It's so nice to be able to get on a plane and 2 hours later, you're in your destination. I'm saying I am scared. I get it. I mean, I still get nervous. Taking off and landing's the worst. When you're 20,000 feet in the air, it's not that bad. It's when you're heading towards the ground. Yeah, I don't see any of that, Finsman. What dates are you going down? Are we going to go digging in season, or is this the meetup? I mean, I'd love to do a game during the season. Okay, Finspin, I'll check it out. We play the Saints at home, right? I'd love to go down for the Saints game because I feel like that's going to be a win. Is that a bad thing that I'm the crown on my own show? Is this something I give out? Michael Lombardo, I'm about to put my email address in the comments. So if you want to email me, I can give you my address. Also, again, get those boxes from Michael K. If you guys pay for Sunday ticket, that Sunday ticket costs more than what this box does. It's a great deal. Plus, you get all the pay-per-view events. You get all the premium free movies. It's a great deal. So make sure you hit him up. I know I'm grabbing mine. Michael K. All right, yeah, Michael K is putting it in the comments right now. But what's your thoughts on Stephen Ross? Yeah, the guy has opened up his pocketbook in recent years, but to me, the fact that he doesn't make the necessary moves, he's too loyal to people he shouldn't be loyal to, and it's causing problems with this franchise. I used to think Stephen Ross was a great owner, but the fact that he continues to employ Chris Greer after Chris Greer's continuance of damaging moves to hurt the Miami Dolphins is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. The fact that you're an absentee owner, that you spend most of your time in New York, that you live in New York, and the Miami Dolphins aren't your number one priority. Shoot, the Miami Dolphins take a back seat to your alma mater. When it came to hiring Jim Harbaugh as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and I think we all believe we'd be better off right now if Jim Harbaugh was that coach. You didn't pull the trigger. You didn't pull the trigger and make the necessary moves for your franchise. And let's not forget that the year Minka Fitzpatrick was drafted by the Miami Dolphins, Stephen Ross was in the draft room demanding that we draft Lamar Jackson. And Chris Greer stomped his feet into the ground and said, I'm the general manager. This is who we're drafting. I'm not the owner of the Miami Dolphins, though, Glenn. I'm just a fan. You can't compare me to Stephen Ross, brother. I do hate the job that Chris Greer's done here. You think Chris Greer's done a good job, Glenn? Honestly? You don't think Chris Greer should have been replaced? Of all the things that he's done over his tenure as the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, I don't know how you feel that way. I mean, when the cat's away, the mice will play, Glenn, and the this franchise is being ran into the ground. Lenny says Chris Greer has naked pictures of Stephen Ross. Listen, Stephen Ross has $18 billion. He can make Chris Greer disappear. He can make Chris Greer disappear. Yeah, Grass Fitzgerald, they're just concerned about Stephen Ross is just concerned about profit. He sees it as just a profitable asset instead of putting feeling into it. You gotta have emotion into football. You gotta care, not just about what the over under is on profit. If that's all you care about. You have $18 billion. How rich you gotta be? You're 85 years old. Your kids won't spend that much money in their lifetime. I mean, Stephen Ross has very little football knowledge. Stephen Ross said that Chad Henne was going to be better than Dan Marino. It's not Ross's fault a salary cap exists, or we'd be stocked beyond belief. Listen, there was ways for us to make cap space this year, and we didn't do it. If he wasn't concerned with money, there was ways to make another $20-30 million in cap space, and he wasn't willing to do it. If he wasn't concerned with money, he would have went out and gave Jonnu Smith more of that money. He would have went, you know what I mean? Stephen Ross closed the checkbook this year. That's why it doesn't make sense that he brought Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel back. Like, if you weren't willing to make one last run at it with Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, one true last run, one last hurrah where you go out and fill the holes the best you can and hope that Tua can stay healthy, then why bring these guys back? Why not start the rebuild now? Glenn, you're right. Most owners do hire someone to run their company, but Chris Greer has proven over and over and over he's not the right guy for the job. We're not talking about one mistake, Glenn. We're not talking about a couple bad drafts. We're talking about a lot of bad decisions. How do you know it was Ross that stopped the spending? Listen, if it wasn't Ross that stopped the spending, that's even more reason to fire Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, because they're absolute idiots. You're in a year in a prove it year, a year where the status quo is not good enough coming out the owner's mouth, and you're not gonna go all in and put the best possible team forward that you possibly can. That shows you lack intelligence. You know, when I thought Stephen Ross was willing to spend money, I really thought this was going to be the most talented team Miami was going to have in the Mike McDaniel tenure, because these guys were on the hot seat, and Mike McDaniel, and Chris Greer were going to do anything and everything to put the best possible product on the field. And I was sorely mistaken. I thought with free agency open, we were gonna hit it hard. We were gonna hit it hard because these guys' jobs were on the line. And it never happened. It never happened. We offered minimal contracts to everybody except James Daniels. And even James Daniels, we offered him far below market value. We're just lucky that he was coming off a serious injury. You don't fire Greer after 2 years of improvement. You fire Greer in the last 2 years. You fire Greer because he was suckered into giving an extension to Tua early, and Tua can't stay healthy. You fire Chris Greer because the millions and millions and millions of dollars wasted on these high-priced free agents that we've won nothing with. You fire Chris Greer because he blatantly and spitefully ignored the offensive line last year. Now, either Stephen Ross closed that checkbook, or Chris Greer's a bigger idiot than I thought he was. Because there's holes on this team that needed to be addressed in free agency or via trade. And Chris Greer did not address the holes properly. Yeah, he went out and drafted an offensive lineman. I like the Jonah draft pick. I like the Kenneth Grant draft pick. But we have major holes at corner. We still have depth issues along the offensive line, and still no solutions to those problems. We had to trade our tight end because he wanted more money and the Miami Dolphins weren't willing to pay him. We let Calais Campbell walk out the door because we weren't willing to give him the money he wanted. We have no depth along the offensive line because we refused to go out and sign people. Good morning, JD. Premature. Chris Greer been here for a long time, brother. I might give you Mike McDaniel, but Chris Greer's had ample time to build a winning franchise. Michael Lombardo, did you get my email? Yeah, I know we will see the product keeps getting better. I mean, we weren't better last year than the year before. Tua can't stay healthy. Grass Fitzpatrick, yeah, 124 and 136 over 16 years. I said that at the very beginning of this podcast. Unacceptable. This is one of the most winningest franchises in NFL history. In the last 16 years, we have a losing record. We have 25-year playoff win drought. We have a 40 some year Super Bowl drought. Like, geez, I am 40, going on 42 years old, and have never seen a Super Bowl. Jose, listen, I like Tua. I do. I like Tua more than most fans probably do. I give him the benefit of the doubt more than most Miami Dolphin fans do. But the guy can't stay healthy. I give Tua the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a Tua hater. I give him more credit sometimes than he probably deserves. But he can't stay healthy. Lenny, 53 years and counting since the last time we won a Super Bowl. Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. I was getting to that. Breathe big, see the drought is almost over. Listen, I get nervous. Finspin, I get nervous. I really get nervous as a football fan that I may waste my whole life and never see and never reap the rewards of being a diehard fan without ever switching up, without ever without ever saying I'm a fan of another team, without ever donning another cap. I get nervous that it's all going to be for naught. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nervous and I'm going to die before I see it, before it comes to happen. It's not supposed to be JD the Great. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a part of life. I haven't even seen them take the field for a Super Bowl. And I'm sure some of you haven't either. Yeah, I mean, Red Sox and Cubs fans, but guess what? JD, they've won one recently, right? So yeah, them fans that were born in 1925 till the 2000s didn't see one. Yep, they didn't. But I mean, it's still not common, right? I mean, we've seen the Rams. I remember when I was a kid, the Rams used to be such a bad team. I mean, they had Eric Dickerson at a point, but the Rams used to be so bad. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were horrible when I was a kid, and we've watched them win Super Bowl. We've what other teams have been? The New Orleans Saints were so bad. We've watched them win a Super Bowl. Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl appearance. Chiefs waited 50 years. Well, JD, I'm coming up on 50, right? We're only a few years short of 50. Well, something's got to give because it's depressing. and it makes me sad. It makes me sad. And I try to have faith in this team. I try to have faith in the players on this team. I try to have faith in the ownership. But sometimes, like, man, it just gets so bad. What's going on, Beth? Finspin says, I got a rare and aggressive cancer I've been battling for over 2 years, and even I believe I'll see another. Relax and don't be nervous. Just enjoy the ride, brother. Finspin, and listen, brother, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll say a prayer for you. I'm not overly religious, but I'll make sure I say a prayer for you, brother. Listen, I hope and pray that you get to see one, or at least see another one, even more so than myself. And I hope everything's going good for you. And if you ever need anything, you reach out and let me know. Okay, brother? Appreciate that, Beth. Appreciate that, Beth. You going to the Dolphins Bills game in September, Beth? You from the Buffalo area? Sorry to hear that, Miller. Miller lost his sister last year. It's a terrible thing. I like watching from home from the commentaries. I do too. I'll be in Buffalo the night before if people want to get up. Plus, I don't like paying for $12 for a beer. I'm probably gonna get up with Michael K for a bit that night. I know the AFC Roundtable's got a show going on at a bar up there the night before. I know Michael K want to go see Dan Mitchell. I know Michael K got some stuff to say to Dan Mitchell. I'm in it. I'm in it for it though. Okay, Beth B. Okay. Beth B loves Dan. TD. Yeah, you should come out then. You should come out that night with us. Have a couple drinks, have a good time. I'm contemplating whether I should wear Dolphins gear to the Bills Dolphins game. Listen, there's good Bills fans, don't get me wrong. You know, like Michael K said, you know, you could go into the tailgate area with a Dolphins jersey on, and a lot of these people will offer you food, will offer you drink. Well, they'll give you some shit, don't get me wrong, but they'll offer you food, drink, and be real nice to you. But there's the other fan base. There's the other part of the fan base that are monsters. And Michael K says, Big C, you will be fine no matter what you wear. See, Michael K, I believe that I'll be all right before the game. But after the Miami Dolphins defeat the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football, I'm worried about leaving the game. I'm worried about leaving the game after all the drunk fans out there are upset that the Buffalo Bills just got beat by the Miami Dolphins. You know what I mean? They're going to be upset. They're going to be in their feelings. and I feel like that's when it could turn bad. Because I got a bit of a slick mouth on me, and I don't take the disrespect too good, and you know what I mean. I'll buy that for $27 you got for sale, brother. I believe in my heart that the Miami Dolphins are going to pull up the upset Thursday Night Football. Don't use the restroom, you'll be in danger. I know that old man got shit beat out of him. I think we got private bathrooms though, right, JD? JD, we got private bathrooms and concession stands, right? Yeah, so I ain't got to worry about the bathrooms too much, I don't think. Beth B, I got a lot of family up in Angola, my cousin Boomers and North Boston. Yeah, we're in a suite, weather protected suite. Too bad it wasn't. Well, nah, I don't want the snow because of the Dolphins, but shit, Buffalo could add 2 feet of snow. I went to the Sabres venue where the Sabres have their game. That's a nice little stadium. Well, I don't know if it's arena. It's a nice little arena. 2 feet, that's child's play. Yeah, I know. I know. It'd be crazy up there. Would you all get like 8 or 9 feet like 5 years ago or something? Oh yeah, I'll be live. I'll be going live. That's crazy. I would love it though. I swear to God, I would love it. And it might sound crazy, but as long as my power didn't go out and I knew it was coming, I could hit the grocery store. I would love it. I love sitting at the door, just watching it pile up, and you not be able to leave the house like you're just barricaded in. But I like the arena that the Sabres play in. They got I don't feel like there's a bad seat in the house. Yeah, my cousin Boomer in North Boston, he don't live far from the stadium, I don't think. I think it was a short drive. But I went and seen Sugarland up there, which was a great concert. I don't know if you guys like country music, but Sugarland is a great concert. Um, it was a real good time. All right, folks. Listen, you can have your thoughts on Stephen Ross, and if it wasn't for his ignoring the the fact that Chris Greer has led this team down a dark path, has made bad choice after bad decision for the Miami Dolphins. I would say he's a decent he's a decent owner. He's willing to spend money to win. But the fact that the Miami Dolphins aren't his number one priority, that hurts this franchise. That hurts this franchise. Now we could have a worse owner. People always think the grass is always greener on the other side, just like replacing Tua Tagovailoa. We could replace Tua. That doesn't mean the next quarterback's going to be better. It doesn't mean that they're going to be better. And the Tua haters will say, well, he can't be much worse. Well, folks, we've seen much worse than Tua Tagovailoa. We have. Minka's not worth the losses, but we weren't supposed to get that much back for Jalen Ramsey. So, I mean, the fact that Jalen Ramsey was getting traded, getting Mika in return was a win for the Miami Dolphins. I think the offensive line can be improved as long as the pieces that we brought in pan out. I think the only real true hole that we have on this team is that cornerback. And if we can make a trade for a corner and maybe bring in a free agent, I think the Miami Dolphins will be okay this year. But we'll see. We'll see. If Tua's healthy, we're going to beat the bad teams. That's what Tua does. But we'll see. The season's still some weeks away. I can't wait for it. Training camp will be here soon. Again, I'm trying to make it down to training camp. I gotta deal with the finances of it though. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Remember, the Finn Posse starting next week will be going at 2 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Just work right now has me on mornings. So, I mean, I got to make that money for my family, you know. So I have to switch up the hours of the show, but I appreciate you all. I love you all. And you know what it is. Fins up forever and always. Peace.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they see me. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft, you can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what